They look like big, good, strong hands, don't they? I always thought that's what they were.
And don't forget, kids, you can hear that and other happy, uplifting Christmas tunes from The Never-Ending Story. Christmas Quotes. Is your horse starting to drown in a swamp of despair? Don't worry about it. The Never-Ending Story Happy Christmas Quotes have got you going. In other words, welcome to the Fluffenhammer. Roll the music!
Oh, that was a good one. That that's bitch slapped me right back to being like 8. That one, bloody hell. The Never-Ending Story, Jesus. Yeah, it's one of those weird films where you watch it as a kid, you are traumatized by it but don't understand why.
Oh yeah.
Then you come back to watch it as an adult and you're like, oh yeah, that's why.
I've had a discussion over the years. Which is the more traumatic part of the Never-Ending Story? Is it the horse drowning in the swamp of despair? You know, the horse choosing to die.
To die. I mean, that's why that scene is so sad, isn't it? It's why it's so traumatic. It's actually a horse suicide.
Yeah.
It's
horsicide, if you will.
It's a horsicide. It is. It's not even just like, oh, the horse drowns in the swamp.
No.
The horse chooses to stop and die.
Mm-hmm. It's so full of despair, it decides to end.
It's a great concept, actually, on a literary level. And the Never-Ending Story is based on books.
I do, yes.
They're not very good, but
I've read the first one, and I was very surprised to find out that the name of the princess, the empress, isn't.
No, it's his mother's name.
Beverly or something.
It's something hippie-ish. It's like Moon something.
Oh yeah, Moon Sun Child Hat or something.
It's Moonchild, I think. It's something like that. It's like very, very hippie-ish, But
I much prefer her name being
Yeah, I kind of like
at the end of the film.
whatever the hell it is. Yeah, is it that sequence or is it the sequence with Gamork, the wolf?
Yeah.
Which I really like, I've got to say. Very well framed.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like the framing from a horror film.
Wait a second. I've never noticed before that, but the wolf's called Gamork.
Gamork, yeah, that's its name.
Gork and Mork.
Mm-hmm, I know, right?
Oh, Games Workshop.
Yeah, Gamork, yeah.
Never stop stealing.
What's really annoying, though? Really annoying, like, that sequence is built up massively, and the threat of the wolf is enormous. Mm-hmm. It's really frightening, the way it's framed. It's really frightening. And it just, like, kills itself. It just, like, flops over him, and it's dead.
I think it's because the budget didn't allow it to do very much with it.
I think that's probably the case, yes. It's such a shame, isn't it? Because the threat of Gamork is built up very early on. When you see the very brief shots of him hurtling through the swamps of despair, and you don't quite know what it is.
Mm-hmm.
You just know something is hunting Atreyu. And then when you see it, and there's it's framed in this very distressing, disturbing way, and its animation is gorgeous. The puppet is amazing. The puppet's beautiful. Well, its face is amazing. The rest of it isn't, but the face is amazing. And then it just even if it did catch him, he could probably handle it.
Oh yeah. It's just a floppy puppet,
It wasn't that threatening ultimately.
Like any other time that you find yourself with some kind of wild beast threatening you, you do the same thing that you do to a puppet. Stick your hand in it until it stops fighting. Yeah. Works for me.
Mm-hmm. Anywho, barring that
I'm Adam,
unusual.
This is George.
Yeah, hi, by the way, ladies and gents. Odd little diversion down into 80s nostalgia there. You're going to have to forgive me for this one, ladies and gents. I have been, I don't know whether you'd call it cursed or blessed by Father Nurgle. It depends on where you're coming from. But I do have a little bit of a cold at the moment. So there may be spluttering, there may be mucus. There may be other things, I don't know. It depends on what symptoms I start to develop.
For some reason, I don't know what it was about the way you said that, but I really wish that we could have seen a point where the Macho Man Randy Savage could have played Nurgle. And just the way you said it, all I got in my head there was, "Grandfather is ready. I got you for 3 minutes. 3 minutes of pain time."
Yeah, that'd be a very odd choice.
It would be.
Very unusual choice. But yeah, so...
Gonna go and see Grandfather Nurgle up in his manse.
I just wish Nurgle would get the clue, okay? I've long since belonged to Slaanesh. Sorry. That's just the way it is. So he can afflict me with what he likes. It's not going to make the slightest bit of difference.
Well, maybe this is part of it. This is to keep Slaanesh's need for experience open. You're just getting slapped down with every single plague that the grandfather can think of.
Maybe that's it. I mean, there is some sincere overlap there, isn't there?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
You could actually make a very good sort of combined Nurgle and Slaanesh force in both AOS and 40k based on that very principle, and it'd be loads of fun.
Covered in boils and little needles to prick them.
Yeah, that's a really cool bit of overlap between the two gods, like thematically. I like that.
Yeah, well, it's how the diametrically opposed powers are the ones that you could combine in nice ways.
Well, interestingly, it does feed into something. As we've said a million times in this podcast, they've been drip feeding the return of Slaanesh in like myriad different ways through loads of different volumes.
Yes, they have.
If you read the Demon Codex, there's this lovely little aside in it that talks about how, although Slaanesh is the weaker of the powers, he's the weakest, his influence is the slightest, and his realm in the realm of chaos is the smallest, he has more influence over the others. And that's why they're afraid of him. That's why they're a little bit shuddered by Slaanesh, because he knows their obsessions in the same way that he knows the obsessions of mortals.
Yeah.
So he can manipulate them in ways that the others can't even comprehend. So what he does is he sets them against one another. He has them warring with one another. And they're all terrified that he will eventually gain so much influence over them that they won't understand. They won't even comprehend how much power he actually has, you know? It's kind of cool. It's slight, it's subtle, it fits Slaanesh really well. Because if you think about it, all the Chaos Gods and their aspects have a little something to Slaanesh.
Yeah.
Because he's the Chaos God of obsession.
Yeah.
And desire. And, Khorne, all of the Chaos powers are ultimately fueled by obsessions of different types and kinds. With Tzeentch, it's the obsession for change and for transgression. For Nurgle, it's the obsession with conservatism and despair. Khorne, it's the obsession with hate and violence and whatnot. There is an element of Slaanesh in almost everything the Chaos powers represent, and that's what really frightens them.
Yeah, I think that's a cool idea, and there's some stuff you could do with that. Stuff that you could run down the road. I like the idea of big, scary Khorne, who is sees Slaanesh as being the foppish little weakling.
Yeah.
Actually having that element of fear of having to deal with him.
Yeah, well, he doesn't know how. That's the problem.
No.
I mean, ultimately, Khorne, despite being divine, is very unsophisticated.
Well, actually, the old story, the Wrath of Khan. Wrath of Khan, yeah. All about Khan the Betrayer. Him dealing with a Slaaneshi cult leader, or maybe he was a demon prince. I can't quite remember.
It was a cult leader. Yeah.
And the way that the insidious tone and the lilting manner and the playing with words and being tricksy kind of threw him off the scent for a little bit. Yeah. And he just had to give himself a shake and then just step forward and hit him with a chain axe.
There's another recent example as well with the invasion of Bieltan.
Yeah.
When the warp gate at the head of the prow of Bieltan opened and forces of Slaanesh and Khorne invaded. In order for Slaanesh to facilitate that very brief unity between the forces of Khorne and Slaanesh, what Slaanesh did was sent the mask of Slaanesh to goad Skarbrand, and that's how they do it with the forces of Khorne when they want to manipulate them. They can't appeal to them in the way they can to the minions of Nurgle or Tzeentch, for example. They goad them. They sort of, they say to them, oh well, if you can't handle it, if you're afraid, if you think it's going to be too much for you to handle all those aspect warriors and whatnot, fine, we'll do it ourselves. It's that kind of thing,
There's nothing like a little bit of Xenos peer pressure.
Exactly, it's kind of like that. That's how they manipulate the forces of Khorne. And of course, you've got to bear in mind, demons of Slaanesh know exactly what buttons to press.
Yes.
Even for other demons, they know exactly how to psychologically manipulate them because they know everything they want immediately. They know everything about them in terms of what they desire. And that goes like to the power of N for Keepers of Secrets, because they're called Keepers of Secrets because they can hear everything in every alternate dimension, in every parallel. So they know every secret desire and shame of mortals, of demons, and so on and so forth. And they can use it to manipulate in all sorts of ways.
It's stuff like this that I find the most interesting in the 40k universe. The different ways that the status quo gets changed, but not the greater status quo, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's the way there's the little things that happen within the universe, because it's a great big universe and there's plenty to do inside it.
Absolutely.
And when you can start playing with the stuff inside there while still staying in the natural logic of it.
Oh, there's loads to do. There's loads to do. I mean, they've often struggled to find Slaanesh's place because technically, despite it being a war gaming universe and a universe that's pervaded by war, war is not really Slaanesh's principal arena. It's certainly an arena, and his demons are very good at it, and they enjoy it a great deal. They regard it in a kind of artistic manner, so battlefields are like canvases or like theatre stages to them. So it's like a great parade. They dance, and they sing, and they make artistic patterns of entrails and blood and the bodies that they strew around. But they've always struggled to find like Slaanesh's place on the battlefield, it seems to me. Because Slaanesh is way more insidious than that. Is most ideal. It's the subtle whisper. It's like that doubting nag in the mind of the priest or the zealot, you know. It's the thing that's tempting them towards something they know they shouldn't want, but which they can't deny.
Yeah. Right, I'm going to have to stop myself because I've just realised what I'm doing is I'm just sitting here listening to you and thinking, that does not make for good listening.
But it's fun, isn't it? I mean, that's why I like Slaanesh a lot. I mean, there is this tendency, and it's a mass tendency to oversimplify Slaanesh. Huge tendency to oversimplify Slaanesh, that it's sex, drugs, and rock and roll, and that is part of Slaanesh, definitely. But ultimately, when you pare Slaanesh down, he is obsession and desire.
Yeah,
that's ultimately it. So you can
is a lot more insidious than just the sexual evolution or the sexual exploration of somebody. Yeah, absolutely. Obsession is something that each and every one of us has, and we experience very, very almost daily. You know.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's a danger as well as something beautiful and wonderful. I mean, Slaanesh is also the god of art. He's the god of inspiration. It's why so many of his followers and his demons are so theatrical. You know, and it's why it's part of his influence from the Eldar, from the Eldari. You know, they are a very theatrical and very artistic race, and that became part of Slaanesh, of course. He is the god of love and of ambition and of the desire to make something beautiful. You know, that is part of Slaanesh. It's just that within his purview, those things become dark. They become powerfully obsessive to the point whereby you abandon all morality or all restraint. So you start to create, you start to think, well, I've gone as far as I can with paint. I've gone as far as I can with sculpture. What if I started sculpting flesh? What if I made symphonies of pain, of screams? You know, what would that mean?
Megadeth.
Yeah, essentially, that's where
Megadeth.
That's where Slaanesh goes. Ultimately, it's to the powerfully obsessive and extreme end of things. That's where his followers end up, even if they start out with noble ambitions, or even if they don't know they're serving Slaanesh. Which is often the case. It's like Zeech, you know. In the old world, often what happened with Slaanesh cults was nobles often would join them under the auspices that it was like a philosophical society or an artistic group or something like that. And then it slowly escalates over time. It's very insidious indeed. They don't realise that they're serving Slaanesh. But by the time they realise it's too late, obviously, their minds have started to distort, and they become... Also, another really fun aspect of Slaanesh to explore is addiction.
Ooh,
sort of drug addiction.
Yeah. But you say addiction, and of course the first thing that comes into your mind is narcotics and alcohol.
Absolutely, yeah.
But addictive behaviour, and I know we're getting way off the beaten track of where it could be, but addictive behaviour is something that exists day to day. Addictive behaviour is that Twix that you have every day that you've made into a habit.
Exactly.
Addictive behaviour is something we all do, which is going into a store with an idea of what you're going to buy in mind and coming out with 3 times the amount.
Exactly. It's excess, isn't it? It's when it becomes excessive. And it goes down very dark paths as well. I mean, it's self-harm, it's that kind of thing. It's mutilation. It's very dark. There are aspects of Slaanesh. I mean, I know some people who have done armies of Slaanesh based on the 7 deadly sins. Yeah. Which is a perfect basis, because of course that's how his realm is organised. The concentric circles, each of which is a little realm in and of itself that represents one of those sins. Because that is what Slaanesh is. In every aspect you can conceive, it's desire and obsession. So it can be potentially anything. I mean, I've always wanted to do, like, maybe not a whole army, but a squad maybe based on gluttony. So my idea is maybe like a mutilator squad, but which are not mutilators. They're like cannibalistic. So they're swollen. They've got like big bellies, distended bellies, and maybe they've got like mutations which are like tentacles that have got like dissecting knives and bone drills and things, so they can pick apart their meals. So they've got big distended mouths, so they can actually like devour their enemies.
Oh man.
That kind of thing.
I would love to see that. Absolutely love to see that.
You could even sculpt like butcher's aprons on them. It's great fun. Great fun. It's that kind of thing that I love to see in Slaanesh armies.
Yeah.
I mean, speaking of Slaanesh, there is a segue here. There is a natural segue.
Well, literally, the next thing I was going to say was, now it's funny that we keep talking about Slaanesh because, look over here. What's this? There's something interesting happening over here. Now, how do you feel about Wrath, George?
Wrath, not my thing. I'm much more interested in the other side.
So, you're more interested in Rapture.
Absolutely. Always and forever, yeah. Always and forever.
George, I should have done, George. I should have started this off with another Bioshock intro.
Oh,
just because of the Rapture. Damn it.
Oh, yes. Oh, God. There's a missed opportunity.
Useless.
Darn it.
Useless.
Maybe next time. But that said, I was really surprised to see the new Flesh Hounds.
Yeah, they are really
They're
cool.
really good. They're really cool. They're lovely. They're sort of like, they're a nice mishmash of the Flesh Hounds that have gone before. Because the Flesh Hounds have changed a lot.
Oh, yeah, and they keep changing.
They do, don't they? Like, the old ones, they look more like the old ones, the lizard dogs with the big frills and everything. But there was a time, and it was during the sort of 3.5 codex, when they became much more canine. And they didn't have the lizard frills. They had really big, like saber teeth.
Yeah.
Massive tusks and black manes, and they were much more dog-like. These things seem to be like
generic as well, I would say.
Yes, not quite as good. But these seem to be a nice sort of throwback, these new ones, and very dynamic, as you'd expect.
Yeah.
It leads me to wonder, because the Khorne range, unlike the Slaanesh range, the Khorne range is pretty full.
It is.
So it leaves me to wonder what else they're going to include.
It'll probably... Because this is going to be demon versus demon, isn't it? That's the thing.
That's right.
So...
For Khorne, anyway, like, what else are they going to include? I mean, they could use it as an excuse to re-release, like, the Bloodletters and the Blood Crushers and the Bloodthirsters,
We're definitely going to get new Bloodletters, I would say, because the Bloodletters that exist now, they're a couple of years old now, aren't they?
Yeah, they are a couple of years old. I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing new Bloodletters. I kind of do like the current ones. I've got to say, the naked, wiry ones that are very much like the original Bloodletters, the weird, distorted, loping Bloodletters.
I would like to see the ones that are more the snaky L shape.
Yes. Again, the Bloodletters have changed a lot.
They have.
Over the course of Games Workshop's history, the Bloodletters have changed a hell of a lot. Originally, they were very weird looking. They were the ones you were just talking about with
Yeah.
like the snaky bodies. They looked like they were made out of blue tack. You know, they were
Yes, yeah.
stretched and distorted, and they had these weird boneless torsos where they were like bent over themselves and their limbs were overlong. Really weird. And then they became much
It
more.
just looked like a load of eels with a weapon. It was very, very odd. It's
Very peculiar and not very Khorne in an odd way. They didn't look strong enough. They didn't look brutal enough to be like Khorne warriors.
No.
But they fixed that with the next incarnation, which made them much more sort of like muscular, you know, clutching their hell blades, and gave them the manes coming off their heads and whatever. And then they went very warrior-like. They like in the 3.5 days, and they even took away their hell blades and gave them axes at that point. They were very, very brutal looking. And then they went back more towards the original Bloodletters with the current incarnation, which are kind of like they're a mishmash of the two.
Yeah. There is martial prowess in there, but there's also raw physical strength.
Yes, and there's that sort of naked, wiry thing going on as well, which I actually really like. I think the current Bloodletters are actually the best incarnations.
I would agree with
Bloodletters.
that. I would agree with that. Yeah.
And they're a lovely set as well, by the way. If anyone's got the Bloodletter set, it's really useful. It's really useful for lots of things, because you've got like their body structure is such that they fit with a lot of other bits and pieces, which is really cool. You know, good for conversions. Very good for conversions.
What I'm considering, because I don't know if I've actually discussed my my plans for an Auric army on the show.
I'm not sure. Have you?
I don't know, but the the idea I've got is beast hunters, right? So they're iron jaws, but they're all trappers and hunters, and there's a small contingent of the savage orcs, the bone splitters in there.
Right.
And
okay.
There's goblins as well, because you got to have grots.
Especially recently. Yeah.
We'll come to that in a minute. But the idea I've got is at the very front, there's just going to be a line of animals. So it's the idea that they're just pushing wild animals in front of them.
Like herding almost.
So the first thing that any army that's coming after my orcs has to get through is going to just be this herd of wild animals. I'll just use like squigrules or something for them.
Yeah, monsters and whatnot. That's great. That's a brilliant idea. I mean, you could do a similar thing with Beasts of Chaos, obviously.
You could, yes.
But you could just use monsters. You could just use a big screen of monsters, which is a cool idea. You know, I wouldn't mind that myself. Lots of centerpieces in that.
The reason I bring that up is I'm thinking I might get these flesh hounds just to do a little bit of conversion work, just to make them into more monsters, more wild beasts to be pushed forward.
Sort of like generic wild monsters.
Yeah.
Cool idea. I like that. And then on the other side, obviously,
holy God,
those miniatures! Wow. I mean, I'm a huge Slaanesh fan, but one of the big problems Slaanesh has always had is the miniatures range hasn't always been the best. In fact, I would say that on the demon side, the Slaanesh demons have always been the weakest in terms of their miniatures, I think. Because
they've always tried to go down certain paths, but never really managed to complete the journey.
But these things
are incredible.
We've only seen one or two. You know, we've only seen one or two miniatures, and they are immediately the best Slaanesh miniatures that have ever been released. You know, they're just perfect. They've captured everything that is essential about Slaanesh in them.
Yeah.
And they're stunning. They're weird, they're twisted, they're suggestive. That's what I like about them.
Yeah.
They're very suggestive in the naughtiest way and the most disturbing way. I love that.
What gets me about them is you look at these two new fiends. I do apologise, Nurgle's not liking me talking about Slaanesh.
No, clearly. It's you know, there's some sort of scrap code transmitting, isn't there? It's like taking the disease down the line.
Digital cold.
It's going to go all Dark Mechanicus, isn't it, at some point? You know, going to start going all Obliterator.
As this frog in my throat just gets larger and larger, my voice just gets more robotic, and I speak more like a 100101010001111.
Or would that be a slan in the throat? That'd be very strange, wouldn't it?
Oh God, you need a big throat.
You need a very big throat, and
a very big throat in the country.
Anywho, yes, these fiends, they're stunning.
What gets me about them is that they are instantly unnatural.
Yeah.
they are incredibly lithe. There's a sense of motion and weight behind them, but they're also very uncomfortable to look at.
Yeah, they are. They look wrong, don't they? The reason they look wrong is because they've got like they look like they're two torsos fused together.
Yes.
Rather than like a complete entity. And the way the torsos are framed, it makes it look like both the head of the fiend and the tail of the fiend are essentially like genital-like. You know, it's very clever, it's very suggestive, but it's not too overt.
No.
It's really very clever. And then what they've done is they've applied things like the sort of leather bondage straps and whatnot, and it just emphasises that element to the nth degree. They are... It's like we said the last time we talked about these. It is as though the designers at Games Workshop have read all the bollocks about, the hysterical bollocks about Games Workshop wanted to squat Slaanesh because it's too adult, because it's too sexual, and gone, oh, okay, fine, yeah, bollocks to that. We're gonna give you probably the most overt Slaanesh miniatures ever. They've even gone down the route. This is something that the naysayer said would never happen again, which is the hermaphroditic element of Slaanesh.
Yeah.
They've gone for it completely with this one. And the breasts aren't even like covered by anything.
No.
They definitely have half male, half female sides to them, which is an aspect of Slaanesh I love. I've got to say, I just absolutely love it. The asymmetry of it. It just appeals to me. I think it's very essentially Slaanesh, and it gives me a great deal of hope. I hope we see this in whatever new miniatures come. My guess is the Keeper of Secrets will follow this.
I think, you're probably right. And I wonder then if this is going to be, I don't know, Slaanesh February or whatever, because this is meant to be out before Christmas, isn't it?
Yep.
So
it certainly is.
So it's going to be next month. It has to be out by, or else they're going to miss it.
Of course, yeah.
So that means Slaaneshmas, which was a joke on if the Emperor had a text-to-speech device, which will be interesting because I'm fairly sure that he'll be then sitting there giggling to himself happily. But one of the things that really I've just noticed it now. Have you noticed the tail? I've sent you the picture, George.
Yes, I'm looking at it now.
Have you noticed the tail? What the tail has on it?
Are we looking at the Spirit Stones, the Soul Stones?
Yes, there's a Spirit Stone. I was looking at the Spirit Stone originally and just going, that's cool. Hang on a second. Is that a stocking on its tail?
It is. It does have a stockinged tail, and all of its legs are stockinged as well. And they're held up by suspenders, of all things, that are fed through their flesh. They're hooked through... It's just that, for me. It's like that Cenobitic element.
It really is, isn't it?
Which is something I've always wanted to emphasise. It's something I've always wanted them to emphasise, because I think that is, like, essentially Slaanesh.
Yeah.
And they've done it. They've done it to the point whereby... Now, I like to convert everything. Yeah, it's just my nature. I'm not sure I want to convert these.
No. I mean, what would you do? What would you do with them to make them into something else? They are exactly what they need to be.
They're absolutely perfect. You know what I am going to do with them? Just to convert them a little bit, I'm going to have them tormenting Eldar.
That's fine, yeah.
I'm going to have Eldari spitted on their claws and underneath their talons. And
do you know what could be quite cool?
What's that?
If you have an Eldari riding them on the back,
God,
all trussed up.
Yeah,
so
that'd be very cool.
So they're being kept for later.
Yeah, ooh, not nice. You could even have, like, sort of withered human worshippers around them, who've been taken in by their soporific musk or by the poison on their tongues or something.
Yeah.
That'd be very cool. They are almost perfect. I mean, I've rarely seen miniatures this good, I've got to say. Certainly for Slaanesh, I have rarely seen miniatures this good. And it's like a lot of what came out of the, is it Blood and Glory?
Yeah.
The Blood and Glory event. It's what it suggests more than anything. Because what do these things suggest about the up-and-coming Slaanesh range? I think they suggest a hell of a lot. I have no doubt in my mind, because the Slaanesh range has the least in the way of heralds.
That's true.
Have you noticed?
Yeah, that's true.
All of the other demons, they have multiple different types of herald that are all modelled differently and all do different things, yeah? Slaanesh, they just have the bog basic herald of Slaanesh, and that's it.
Yeah.
my guess is we're going to get lots of different Heralds of Slaanesh, as we did with Nurgle, that are all like they're all different. They all have different aspects of Slaanesh.
Mm-hmm.
We're obviously going to get the new Keeper of Secrets. That's a total.
Given. That's a complete.
You
given.
you could lay odd. You don't need to lay odds. It's an absolute definite.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to see what they do with that, because the Keeper of Secrets again has it hasn't ever really hit the mark. For me, anyway, it's never been quite right. Yeah. It's never captured the essence of what the Keeper of Secrets is for me, which is. It's this odd combination of incredible brutality and subtlety. They are the most violent of Slaanesh's demons, but they're also the most seductive.
Mm-hmm.
The thing about the Keeper of Secrets is you can't fight it. You can't fight the Keeper of Secrets because just by seeing it, you want to submit to it. It's a very odd balance to reach, you know?
Yeah, how do you put that onto the tabletop? It's
very hard. They've done it with the Fiends, so I sincerely hope they capture that with the Keeper. I really do. I don't want it to be like the Forge World Keeper, which is too humanoid for my tastes.
Yeah.
But I also don't want it to be too bestial either. It's a difficult one. I mean, I do hope they go down the old fertility idol route with it. You know, with the bovine head. I actually really liked that.
Yeah, because it brings a certain amount of ugliness to the beauty.
Yeah, and it's distressing, isn't it?
Yeah, it stays sensual even though it's got that feeling of ugliness and repulsiveness.
It's that sense of the forbidden, isn't it? It's that whole thing of, shouldn't be looking at this, but kind of like it, you know? Yeah. It's that whole thing. That's Slaanesh in a nutshell. That's what it should be. That's what the Keeper should evoke, ideally. And they've done such good work with the other Greater Demons. For my money, this is the strongest the Greater Demons have ever been in miniatures terms. You know, you look at the Bloodthirsters, they're all beautiful. They're essentially what Bloodthirsters should be. The Lord of Change, which is my favourite of them thus far, Lord of Change is amazing. It's one of the most amazing miniatures imaginable. The Great Unclean One. I mean, obviously, the Great Unclean One. It gives me a lot of hope for the Keeper. It really does.
I saw a Great Unclean One the other day, and it was a really pale blue.
Right, okay.
And it had really pink lips and this blue, horrible skin. And the only way I can describe it was, I looked at it and was instantly distressed.
Yeah.
And I just, oh dear.
yeah, that's not right.
And now, if I ever do a Nurgle army, I want to take that idea, that blue colour, because it was just
unusual as well. Blue is not something you naturally associate with Nurgle.
No, but it was just very. It was the blue of somebody who drowned. Is the only way I can describe it.
So that actually works. It's almost like a maggot-eaten blue. Yeah. It's like a bloodless blue. I like that. I really like that. So, I mean, Wrath and Rapture, it's also cross-game, isn't it?
Yes.
It's actually a cross-game system by all accounts. It's going to be both 40k and AOS. And that presages certain things for both of those systems. So we know now that there is going to be a Slaanesh battle tome, for example. We know that for definite, which means there's going to be a whole new mortal range for Slaanesh as well at some point.
Yeah. I think they won't all hit at once. I think you'll get the demons first, and then the month after you'll get the mortal range. It's the same way that they did Zeech.
Yeah, absolutely.
2 years ago, almost now. Yeah,
that's it. And by the same token, there will then be a 40k equivalent later on.
Yeah.
There'll be the Emperor's Children Codex, which is obviously again going to have, without a shadow of a doubt, it will have new Noise Marines in it. It will have some new Slaanesh mortal equivalent, so like a cultist equivalent, whatever that will be.
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe it'll even have Slann gore.
I can only hope.
Wouldn't that be great? Wouldn't that be wonderful?
At some point, I really need to make pigmen of Nurgle. It's something I need to sit down. I am learning to sculpt as we speak, and I am going. My ambition is to make pigmen of Nurgle. It will happen.
I must admit, one of the things that has surprised me about the Nurgle releases is they didn't bring back Pestigore.
Yeah, it's an odd one.
Strange choice, that. I mean, maybe it's because they just wanted, like, the Zarngor to be very special, to be something that's unique to Tzeentch, you know? And that's it's his boon, it's his benefit. But it's a shame, because I would have liked to have seen the Pestigor come back.
I think, as well, a lot of Nurgle's releases for when they brought him back out, it was 40k focused. They didn't bring a huge amount out that was AOS only.
No, because they didn't really need to at that time, because you'd had, from the end times, you'd had the Glockin.
Yep.
You'd had the Magath Riders. You'd had the Blight Kings, the Putrid Blight Kings. You'd had loads of character models released. So they didn't really need to, as such. Which is probably why they didn't. You know, they focused on the demon side. You know. But maybe something for the future. But I'm fascinated now to see what they do. I'm fascinated to see how, like, narratively, what this is going to mean for Slaanesh in AOS, particularly, because my guess is this means his release.
Yeah, he's getting newt.
It's going to be an event, isn't it? He's going to, like, break his chains somehow, or someone's going to break his chains for him.
Do you know what the interesting part of him breaking his chains in AOS is going to be?
What's that?
It means that you cannot get any more elf souls out of him.
No. In fact, you know what? If they're really clever, that's what they'll use. That concept is what they'll use for, like, the battle tome, for filling it out. You could potentially have Slaanesh corrupted and birthed elves as a Slaanesh unit. I would go berserk.
Yeah, that would be very... Yes, please.
I would go friggin' insane if that was the case. And that would be, like, the AOS army I start, you know, that would be the one that just does for me. Definitely, that would do it for me. And also, there's precedent for it. You remember the old cults of Slaanesh?
Yes, I do.
From the Storm of Chaos,
yes,
which was a combination of Slaanesh demons, Slaanesh mortals like Chaos warriors, and Dark Elves. So there's no reason why not.
No, there isn't.
And you know what? If they carried that over into 40k, so there was Slaanesh Eldiri, I would probably have some sort of aneurysm.
There'd just be there with somebody with the smelling salts. Come back to us, George. Come back to us.
Probably, yeah. I'd be having visions of the Six Circles. You know, it would be insane. And God, if they did that, if they made, like, Slaanesh Eldiri the mortal unit in the Emperor's Children, oh dear, fuck God, no, yes, brilliant. that would be the end for me. That would be it, because there used to be Chaos Eldar. Once upon a time, there used to be.
But there also used to be Space Marine Eldar.
There used to be, yes. Once upon a time. I mean, they went the way of the dodo very quickly, but there used to be.
There used to be.
A long time ago.
Shall we have a look at some of the other stuff that came out?
Yes, let's, because I could go on forever.
That's the big one. Over in AOS, the Beasts of Legend, so the Wilgor Standard Bearers coming back.
How weird is this?
Yeah, there's some Pestigors getting re-released.
I couldn't believe it.
And Gorthor. It's like somebody listened.
I was so pleased when he popped up. I was so pleased. And you know what really pleased me? I haven't seen that miniature for a long time. Like, for a long time. And it stands up really well.
It does. It really does. It's
for a miniature that was originally metal.
Yeah.
And was, like, sculpted in that very static way that a lot of metal miniatures were. It looks very AOS.
It does. It fits really nicely. And it's making it difficult for me to not want to do a Beasts of Chaos army.
Yep.
I have other things I want to do first.
I'd love to.
I still haven't done the Caradron. I need to do the Caradron. Good God, and then there's the stuff coming out for Shadespire for Nightvault, the giant troll and a flying squig. That's
I know what right, the friggin' hell.
So but oh God, I really want to do this. I really want to do Beasts of Chaos.
Yeah,
I just need a hook. I need a hook.
After that battle tome, man, it's how you do it right. You know, Games Workshop, if you want people to buy new armies, this is how you do it, because I want to. I can tell you, I want to. I want to get another job so I can afford to. You know, it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's insane. That book, man, it's out of this world. Out of this world.
Also, in Agency, well, there is a teaser for the next battle tome.
Oh yes,
and it's either going to be. And I might be going a bit on a limb here, George.
Yep.
I might be going on a limb, and I do apologise if I'm going too far.
Okay.
But do you think it might be Battletome Tim Burton?
Is it going to have lots of like curly clouds?
Well, you look at it, and it does look like it's
stockings and things.
You look at that, and the first thing that comes to my mind is looking at all those trees and mushrooms. Is this Battletome Nightmare Before Christmas?
Is Johnny Depp in it?
Oh God, I hope not. May he burn forever.
And Helena Bonham Carter, obviously, they've got to be in it.
Oh yeah, Helena Bonham Carter. She's fine. She can come. She can be in it. That's brilliant. Johnny Depp can burn in the fires of hell for the rest of eternity.
Problem with Johnny Depp, if he's in it, then you're going to have to feed him his lines because he's going to be drunk or high or something.
Yeah, and just a giant bibbling moron.
Just as an aside, did anyone see that last Pirates film? Fucking hell! I'm not surprised he got fired off the set of that.
No,
you can actually see in the film that he's getting his lines through an earpiece. You can actually see it, and it's like
so bad,
so
bad.
And you can see like all the other cast hate him.
Yeah.
You can see it. It's like, we do not want to be here. You know. I'm sorry. Aside.
That's fine.
Aside, yes.
Also, on the other hand, Keanu Reeves is a lovely man, and he
by all accounts, yeah. Aging with some incredible grace as well. He looks amazing.
He really does. Keanu Reeves, I am now convinced, is just a guy who took up acting for a laugh because he's immortal.
He looks incredible. He's one of those guys who looks better the older he gets. Which
Very
is
true.
evil.
Very true. Yeah.
It's evil. I hate that, but I love it. You know.
But anyhow. So Battletome Moonclan Grots is coming, and there's just a little trailer for it. There's nothing more.
I imagine it's going to be a laugh.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it.
It's going to be one of the slightly funny armies. It's going to be slightly jocular. There's going to be a lot of tongue-in-cheek in that one.
Yep, and I'm all over that because the Moon Clan will always be my first army and my favourite.
I love how they've reinvented them as well with that sort of fungally infested thing they've got going on.
Yeah.
It's a lovely way of reinventing them and opens the door for lots of things down the line. You know, like you could potentially have like D&D style fungoid men.
I've already sculpted one.
There you go. Yeah, absolutely. Big fungoid horrors, you know, like big monstrous fungal things. You know, it'd be great fun. Great fun.
Now I've sculpted it for my my destruction army. I've also sculpted it for another idea, which we'll all find out about much later down the line.
Okie dokes. Foreshadowing.
Oh yes.
I wanted to do a Phil Ken Sebon thing there. Ha ha! Foreshadowing.
Maniacal laugh. Maniacal laugh. There's also going to be a chapter approved 2018. The video for that is amazing, and I recommend.
Loads of fun.
Yeah, I recommend everyone goes to watch that because it's great fun.
It's loads of. I know. Yeah, what's in it though? You know, the beta codex for the Sisters of Battle.
Yes. How nuts is that?
Yeah, that's mental. Absolutely mental, and they look good. You know, thus far they're looking good.
Yeah, they've got the looted tanks for the orcs.
Yep.
Yeah, there's loads of cool stuff going on in there. I'm not a big rules guy, but
yeah,
no, I'm tempted to pick it up.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to definitely pick it up because it's a little bit essential because the chapter approved tends to do is improve the game. You know.
Yeah. But at the moment, 40k is the bottom of my to play pile. Just because I only have a limited amount of time.
Yeah, it's time more than anything, isn't it? That's the problem.
I'm loving Necromunda, I'm loving Shadespire, and I'm loving AOS.
Yeah, although there's something that's coming along that's gonna eat into that time.
We're gonna get into that.
Yeah.
Don't worry, George. We're gonna. Oh, fuck up. No, god damn you, GW.
Yeah, the one that everybody's talking about.
Yeah, Vigilus, the next chapter. So this looks interesting.
Because it looks like Vigilus, they're using that as a fulcrum point for like levering the next stage of 40k in terms of its history, of its mythology. What is going to happen on this world and what is going to move the state of play on? Because it seems like this world is almost taking the place of Cadia.
Yeah, yeah.
It seems.
Yeah. Well, I think the idea is that there's going to be... Right, so you know how when they said the same about AOS, actually, when that kicked off, that Warhammer 8th edition there will be no 9th edition.
Yeah.
The plan isn't to work towards making a 9th, it's now to take 8th and just continuously update it.
Yeah.
Right? So you'll have 8th edition version 1, 8th edition version 2, 8th edition version 3. What I think you're going to find is that every maybe 2 years, the next version will come out. So it won't be like the big box that 8th edition was.
Yeah.
It'll be something more like the one of Stormcast versus Nurgle that came out for AOS. Or maybe you'd get one that's the Soul Wars type thing every couple of years.
Yeah, every couple of years or so. Something that updates, yeah?
Yeah. And I think what you'll find is you're going to get these big campaigns that lead into them.
Yeah.
So I think Vigilus, this is the beginning of what's going to lead into version 2.
I think you're probably right. And they're certainly using it as a springboard for what we know is coming, like the Gene Stealer cults, for example. I mean, they're heavily involved, you know?
Do you know what would look really good in the Gene Stealer cult army? Do you know what would look really good in it, George?
What would look good?
Do you know what would look really good? The Necromunda House Deluxe.
They're great, aren't they?
They're amazing.
They're absolutely brilliant. I mean, Necromunda's not like high on my list really in terms of the games I enjoy, but those miniatures are absolutely stunning. I was looking at them thinking, right, what can I do with them?
Well, they're going to be my Gene Stealer cult.
I think, like any army that's got cults, they're going to feature very heavily.
Yeah.
So your Chaos Space Marines, your you know, they are going to be huge. They're going to almost be like the ubiquitous cult miniature, I think.
Yeah.
Because that's what they look like.
Well, what is my Gene Stealer cult, George?
What is your Gene Stealer? It's one of the...
it's an Adeptus Mechanicus.
I was going to say it's a Mechanicus one, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a corrupted Mechanicus cult, yeah.
So you look at them and then think, Gene Stealer cult on a Mechanicus world.
Yeah.
I couldn't have converted anything better.
No, they're perfect, aren't they?
They really are. It's not fair, George.
They also look very much like Imperial citizens as well.
Yeah.
So if you wanted to have like Imperial citizenry running around your battlefield in like a cityscape or something, perfect. Absolutely perfect. They are beautiful miniatures.
They are gorgeous. I mean...
They're going to sell.
Oh, yeah.
They're going to sell outside of the desire for Necromunda because they're so ubiquitous, they're usable in so many different ways.
Yeah, they are. These things hit, and I must have sat and looked at the picture for an hour.
Yep.
And I have already generated in my brain all the different things I can do with mixing that with the Gene Stealer cult kit. There's so much you can do, and they're going to look so good, and I'm going to be poor, George. I'm going to be so poor because I need like 6 boxes of them, and that doesn't include the one I'm going to need to actually play them in Necromunda, George.
I know,
This is ridiculous. This is not fair.
It's absurd.
I mean, don't get me wrong. This is new GW, and new GW is absolutely fantastic, and everything that they're doing has been on fire, but this goes beyond being on fire, George. Do you know how you felt before about the Slanesh and how the idea of like a Slaneshi elf army would be the thing that grabs you by the face and drags you kicking and screaming into AOS, and that would be it. You would have no choice. That's how I feel about these, George. That's how I feel about these. I don't have a choice anymore. I'm just going to go over there and just sign over my firstborn to GW, and so I can get lots of Dilac. There is no other way for me to live my life. So you're speaking about obsession, as we were before. That's it. I accept it. Come get me, Slanesh. I am obsessed with the Deluxe. I am done now.
Yep, that's pretty much it. That's how it's gone down.
I'm sweating after that.
Like this whole event has gone down like that. It does seem to be like people have just been like sitting and staring at how brilliant these miniatures are, just generally across the board.
Yeah.
And the speculation on what you can do with them has been wild. If you look at any of the forums and whatnot, the speculation on what you can do with the contents of like Wrath and Rapture, of the House Dilac, of the one we'll get onto in a moment, it's been insane. People are going to just buy like multiple box loads of this crap just because they want to convert, they want to make new stuff, you know? It's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. This is how you sell, GW. This is how you do it.
This is how you make a successful company.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
Shall we get on to it?
Deep breath, right? Okay, right. So, elephant in the room, George.
Yep.
The Dark Oath War Queen and the Shadespire. Yeah, there's a dog in that, and they're very Celtic.
Yep, they're very Celtic. Probably the one that I overlook the most, I have to say.
But right next to that, there is Warhammer Queen. Sorry, that sounds like I was being really maligned. No, they are very cool. It's just...
They're fine. They're perfectly fine. But I think the problem with them is that they are in context with so many other brilliant things.
Yes. Yeah.
That's the problem.
If these had hit and I saw the dog, I would have been like, that dog is amazing. I want that
Yep.
dog. I will probably buy the set just to get the dog and the parts.
Yep.
Because there's lots of stuff in there that I really like. Mm-hmm. However... everything else that's come out is really cool. The stuff that... I mean, even the news that there's a 40k podcast coming out of GW as well, the Foxcast. That's really cool. I'm loving the fact that they're getting into this.
Well, it's inevitable, isn't it?
It is,
After Stormcast, I think that was absolutely inevitable.
It did, of course, make me realise I'm about 2 months behind on Stormcast, and I need to get caught up on that.
Yeah.
Oh dear. But then they dropped it. Did you see the potato camera, George?
I saw the potato camera.
Wasn't the potato camera brilliant?
It was a superb bit. It was superb. I have to admit, I was one of those people who was like, with a fine magnifying glass over the picture that the potato camera took.
Yeah.
Trying to figure out what all the miniatures were.
Well, then they started showing the miniatures, and the miniatures are for a new Warhammer Quest game, a 40k-based Warhammer Quest game. Yeah. It's for Blackstone Fortress. And oh my word, this is not what I thought this was going to be.
No, this is the one that's overshadowed the entire event.
Yeah.
People are going ape over this. They're going mental.
The stuff that is in here is incredible.
It's the stuff that it implies as well. Have you seen the two rattlings with their robot?
Yeah, for the fucking rattlings.
Apparently, you know that big robot, that sort of Adeptus Mechanicus style robot, apparently that's theirs. It follows them around and they can control it.
That's awesome.
It's so much fun. It's so ridiculous. This whole setting looks amazing to me. I love what they did with the build up to it, where you've got what is the sort of world called, where it's just like a market world where there are mercenaries and aliens and like ex-imperial citizens and rogue inquisitors and even like chaos worshippers wandering around.
I know the one you mean, but I cannot remember off the top of my head.
That's what I've been wanting from 40k for a while, I've got to say. That sort of slightly Mos Eisley space cantina kind of thing. You know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's brilliant. I love that. And I love the fact that it's a place where the rogue traders go and they sort of make underhanded deals and whatnot. Absolutely brilliant. And you've got that feeling in the set, because you've got like your Elder Ranger.
Yep.
Who's amazing. Just beautiful.
How much does that Elder Ranger just remind you of Rogue Trader?
Yeah, very much so.
I don't know what it is, because it's not the style and it's not the pose. I don't know what it is, but it makes me think of old 80s GW.
I also love the fact that you've got these drones that are part of the Blackstone Fortress that look like nothing else in 40k.
Yeah.
They are actually part of an older time. Like, from a time when technology was so different that these creations look like nothing else.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. That's absolutely brilliant. I also love the fact that the Blackstone Fortress is like a living environment.
Yes, it's going to change and adapt in order to get you.
Yeah, that's fabulous. Absolutely fabulous.
How excited are you, George, for the look for the new Chaos Marines?
Oh, they look great.
They do,
I mean, again, it's like exactly what I was saying for Wrath and Rapture. It's what they imply. Because what these Chaos Space Marines are doing is showing you where they're taking the range.
Yes.
Basically. What I also love, which a lot of people have lamented, is the fact that the Chaos Space Marines are limited. There aren't many of them.
No.
What they've got backing them up is not Chaos Cultists, but Traitor Guard.
Yeah.
And what does that imply to you?
That implies that there are there are Guard legionnaires and legions that have turned.
And that implies for me that when they redo the Chaos Space Marines, which apparently is going to be in early 2019, that's going to be part of the army.
Yeah.
That's my guess is what they're going to do with them to finally at last differentiate Chaos Space Marines from their Imperial counterparts, which is so in need of doing.
Yeah.
Rather than having the standard, you have Chosen, you have Chaos Space Marines, and you have cultists, what I think they're going to do is you're going to have like massed hordes of cultists and traitor guard. And then you're going to have very finite Chaos Space Marine units, and I think what they're going to do is change the stats of Chaos Space Marine so that they're more like Primaris.
Yeah, I think that's exactly.
I think
they have to go toe to toe with the Primaris.
Yeah, I think what they're going to do is they're going to say they're warp swollen, they're mutated, they're filled with the energy of the warp. They're like 10,000 years old, so they're a bit beefier and a bit nastier, but rarer than Imperial Marines. That's my guess. In terms of aesthetics, these miniatures they've done this really weird thing where they are absolutely perfect. The balance is perfect. They're not as Baroque as the Chosen that were released a few years back.
No.
In Dark Vengeance. They're not as mutated as they are, but at the same time, they're just elaborate and warp-tainted enough.
They are superb.
Yeah, they are. They are absolutely superb. And that Chaos Lord, that Black Legion Chaos Lord, is very brutal looking.
I've got to admit, though, my favourite ones are both the Rogue Trader, with his fancy hairdo and moustache, because he's the best-looking man I've ever seen in 40k.
Yeah, he's handsome. He's actually a handsome 40k guy, and there aren't many of them.
No, there isn't.
There are not Fulgrim, Robert Gilman, Sanguinius when he was around.
And against my better judgment, I am in love with Thaddeus the Purifier, because he has a gun book.
Yeah, he's great. In fact, all the miniatures are fabulous.
Yeah, they are. They absolutely are. But gun book has my attention. It's a book with a gun. It's brilliant.
You've also got a little bit of Dark Mechanicus suggestion going on, which is very, very nice indeed. I
am excited for Blackstone Fortress. It looks like it's going to be a great, great game to play.
It's a must-buy.
Because I was thinking it was going to be a lot like either Space Crusade or the Warhammer Quest that exists now.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
It's actually going to be somewhere in between from the looks of it, and that excites me. That excites me a lot.
Yeah, I'm very interested to see how it plays. My guess is it's going to be much more narrative, a little bit more exploratory than, say, Kill Team. I'm fascinated. I am absolutely fascinated. And people are going to buy multiple boxes because of the miniatures.
Yeah. No,
that's a given.
That's a strong possibility.
It's an absolute given. But yeah, I'm just absolutely fascinated now to see what this means for later, like early next year.
I'm very excited to see what's going to happen in the first half of next year, because it feels like there's been stuff in the works for a while, and it's all going to start hitting early next year.
Yeah,
and what we're going to see is the evolution of 40k. You know, where we've kind of got an idea of where it's going to aim for. But this looks like it's going to be where it's going to go.
Yeah.
And I'm really excited for it. And as much as it's the bottom of my to-play list, I still love the fiction. I love the fluff. Hence the name of this show.
Absolutely.
And it gets me excited.
Yeah, I mean, I've been excited about the 40k universe basically since 8th Ed hit. In fact, before that, it was really since Wrath of Magnus.
Yeah.
Because that's when it really started to shift. That's when things started to change, and it's been changing ever since. It's actually been evolving and adapting. It hasn't really settled at all. One thing that does excite me is we're gonna all of these Chaos Space Marines are Black Legion.
Yes,
all
they
of them are.
Yeah.
And that suggests to me is we're going to find out what Abaddon's been doing.
Growing, I hope.
Yeah, well, we definitely get it. We know we're getting a miniature of him. That's it's an absolute definite.
Yeah.
So what are they going to do with him? Where's he going to be? What's he going to be like? What's he been doing since Cadia? Because we just don't know. We've had lots of information on like what Magnus has been doing, what Mortarion has been doing, but not Abaddon.
He's getting himself ready for the 13th Crusade, because he's only done it 6 times. So
absolutely.
Just do it again.
The next 13th Crusade.
Yeah, 13th Crusade, Part 5, The Reckoning.
What's the next step in the Crimson Path? That's what I want to know. What's the next step towards Terror?
A good question. And I think what you'll find is that answer will be given in the Vigilus storyline.
Yeah, I think so.
Me too. Okay, then. So I've got 2 things to go through before we close up.
Mm-hmm.
One is I want to share a bit of joy with you, George.
A little bit of joy.
A little bit of joy.
I've had rapture, so now it's joy,
yes. Yeah? So I was on the Old Hammer community, which is a Facebook group, and it's a really fun Facebook group to be on. Mm-hmm. And somebody was reading White Dwarf issue 106.
Oh, so very early.
Oh, yeah. And they took a photo of a letter. And I would like to read the letter to you, George.
I think I know what's coming. I've got premonitions tingling.
How can I be a menace to the universe when there's only 6 models on the market? From Jonathan Hall in York. Please could you give a bit more attention to Orcish and Tyranid armies? At the moment there are only 4 Zote models and only 2 Tyranid. Where are their vehicles, support weapons and robots? It seems too much attention is being placed on the Imperial forces, and it's not much fun when Marines have no competition. How can I be a menace to the universe when there are only 6 models on the market, whilst the Marines are blessed with Rhinos, Land Raiders, Dreadnoughts and Black Shadow bikes? And what do the Orcs get? A moon buggy.
Oh, God. So, you know, the more things change, the more they stay the same.
I just thought that was quite interesting.
It is quite interesting, isn't it? It's very like, you know, if you go back to the writings of like ancient Greek or Roman philosophers and whatnot, you find basically the same complaints about their societies and cultures that we have now.
Yeah.
It's always like, drat these meddling kids, you know, it's sort of like, oh, the later generations are degenerate and blah, 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 blah. It's all the same. The more things change, the more they stay the same.
And I really enjoyed that, so I thought I'd share it with everyone.
It's very cool, I've got to say. It's very cool. And back then, he was kind of right. There were only like 6 Tyranid models, if that, you know?
Yeah, there was very little on the market for them, unless you were playing Space Marines. Which is why you got a lot of Space Marines versus Space Marines armies. It was very
yes, definitely.
And then to finish up, we actually recorded a show last week, but unfortunately that show hasn't been able to get done. There was massive issues with it. I'm still working on trying to get it out in a manner that is listenable. So it's just taking a lot of work. But what we did in the last show is we announced the winner for the Limerick contest.
We did! It was very good.
It was. So what I'm going to do now is go through the final entries again and announce the winner. So the final entries that we got were from Matt Clark. There was a young man from Brighton who had to go get his big coat on, for he entered Games Workshop. He spent too much, and now his bank cards need to get the chop. And then we got 2 from the YouTube channel. This is from Mark Brigandy. There was a pale Primarch called Corax who wrapped black feathers round his thorax. He cried, "It's no use, I shall read Dr. Seuss," and sat down to pore over the Lorax.
I like the weirdness of that one.
He also has another one.
I mean, you know what? That's ambitious. Trying to get things that rhyme with Corax.
Yep.
That's very ambitious.
I am massively impressed with that one.
That's very ambitious.
There's another one, which is, there was an Astartes named Dante, who was caught in delicto flagrante. Said, I met a space elf, and in spite of herself, said she'd do anything that I want, eh?
Again, very ambitious, trying to find something that rhymes with Dante.
Yeah. Mark, I'm just going to give you a shout out here, Mr. Mark Brigandy. They are genius. And if these had come in last week before we announced the winner, because it's unfair for us to change the winner now because the winner already knows, you would have got it. You would have got it. So what I'm going to do...
Is there a consolation prize?
Well, there is, Mr. Mark. If you send us a message over YouTube or something, we'll have a word with you, because I think that you need a runner-up prize, because those are fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the winner, because I absolutely love this one, there was a young Admech from Mars who hated and feared the stars. He created a gun that harnessed the sun, and now the galaxy's ours. That's James Norfolk Sinnis. He already knows, and he'll be getting his prize in the next week or so.
Very cool.
But I think Mark he went out there and actually used old Latin.
Yeah,
it's Pig Latin, but it's still Latin, and it's so
It's
good.
rather impressive. It's rather impressive. I'm still very, very, very impressed with rhyming Corax with anything.
Yeah, Thorax and Lorax.
Thorax, yeah.
Spot on. So, with all that being said, we're going to get out of here because I can actually hear my dog desperately wanting to go for a walk. So I'll have to start closing it up and go and put her into a cannon. That's the way of Siege. You put dog in cannon. Make dog into cannon. Make cannon dog. Gun dog. Problem solved.
Oh.
Yes. So with all that being said, George, is there anything that you would like to quickly pimp out?
Oh, there's always something. Yes, if you go to strangeplaygrounds.com, you'll find loads of stuff going on over there, including my fiction and an event that we're running next year on February the 19th, which is going to be very, very interesting indeed.
I am looking forward to this.
And come along. It's gonna be fun. I guarantee you it's gonna be fun. If you're of a particular frame of mind, particularly sick frame of mind, you'll probably enjoy it. Beyond that, there is look out for my short story collection, Essential Atrocities, which is going to be available on Amazon very soon. Awesome. And also, there are going to be 2 other short story collections, released from Perpetual Motion Machine Publishing, the Born in Blood short story collections 1 and 2. Yeah. They're going to hit very soon as well. Awesome. Beyond that, keep looking at Exaggerated Elegy for lots of weirdness and fun and whatnot, and the Twitter account Enigmatic Elegy for just ramblings, Yeah.
So, with all that being said, I have nothing to pimp out at the moment. Riveted Sounds, unfortunately, is I'm in the process of closing it down and rebranding and reworking it into something else. Just because at the moment my time is limited and things are difficult to focus on that. So that will be coming back in a different form down the line. But at the moment, I have nothing to pimp. Except the Fluffenhammer.
Yes.
Now, next episode is episode 30. And what I want is a bit of feedback from you guys. I want to know the stuff that you've enjoyed from this show. I want to know the stuff that you haven't enjoyed from this show. I want to know, I want complete transparency and honesty, actually, from you guys. I want to know if there's stuff that we've done in the past you'd like us to do again. I'd like to know if there's stuff we've done in the past that you'd never want to see again. There's a lot of things. I just want you guys to give us your feedback.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
I think 30 is the point where you are a established show.
Yeah.
It's one of the things I've always thought of throughout my entire career in podcasting, is that once you get to 30, you're established, you've built yourself a place to live, and now it's time to start decorating.
Well, you kind of know what you're doing at that point, don't you?
Yeah.
At least you've fallen into a very particular routine.
Yeah. But I think we have. I think we've tried different things throughout it, and I think the format that we've got now is probably the best.
Oh, I think it works.
Yeah,
I think it works. I think it works really, really well. Actually, the conversational stuff works really well. I find.
Well, it's always. I think it's always much more pleasant to be sitting listening to someone's conversation than it is to be told stuff.
Oh God, yes. My God, yes.
So with that being said then, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls and children of all ages, we are out of here. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you very much, George.
Pleasure. Oh, I mean, more so this time, obviously. There's wrath and rapture and whatnot, and joy and all sorts of pleasant and wonderful stuff.
Unfortunately, I'm just 3 nurglings in a Slanesh suit.
Oh, that would be terrible, wouldn't it? How disappointing would that be? God almighty, that would be very disappointing indeed, wouldn't it?
Oh, it's such a horrible thought.
That is such a horrible thought. Such a horrible thought. But the kind of thing I'd imagine nurglings would do.
Yeah, because they're just funny little puppy creatures.
They're bags of mischief, aren't
they?
They're sort of diseased bags of mischief, so yeah. Unpleasant.
And I think that's the best place to end it. Night,
I
guys.
think so. Bye-bye, guys.